Let's start here. A lot of news coming out of Washington. You have been vocal in your opposition to the American strike on Iran. Why are you opposed to this?
Well, this has been a stance that I've taken literally since the beginning of serving in Congress. I've been against American troops, American hard-earned taxpayer dollars being thrown into foreign wars and foreign conflicts and regime change. And I think we have so many problems here in America. Our debt, for example, is $37 trillion. And in particular, Gen Z, that's my kids' generation. They're 22, 25, and 27. That generation can hardly afford to pay rent month after month. They can't afford to buy a house. Insurance is so high they can hardly afford it. They really want good paying jobs and they're hard to find. And I think those are the issues we need to remain focused on. Of course, I always wish Israel the best and the people of Israel, as well as every single other country around the world. As a matter of fact, I want great trade deals with those countries. But for me and many people I know, many people, not only in Georgia, but across the country, are really tired of the foreign wars. But I have to say, I'm really proud of President Trump and how he's seen this through. Very excited for the ceasefire and looking forward to the peace deals that come.
I'm glad you brought up the president. I want to ask you about some comments you made on Twitter earlier this week. You tweeted saying that the MAGA agenda called for no more foreign wars. And you said that after these strikes, this is a quote, "It feels like a complete bait and switch." Do you feel like President Trump broke a campaign promise?
Well, President Trump has called for a ceasefire and is working incredible peace deals in the Middle East. He is fulfilling his campaign promises. But when we were watching bombs being dropped in Iran and watching the war going back between Israel and Iran, that certainly was not what we wanted to be doing. But I have to say, President Trump, the direction that he has taken this is historic. No other president has done that in the past, well over 20 years. Every single president has continued war and has dragged America further, not only our money, but sent our troops as well. And we unfortunately lost thousands of American military, and there's many American military that are left with those physical and mental injuries that will last the rest of their lives. So I'm very grateful to President Trump for fulfilling and keeping his campaign promises, which is to work towards peace and ending foreign wars.
And I just want to be clear. It sounds like when you say you're grateful for the president for fulfilling his campaign promise, you're referring to the effort to broker a ceasefire following these strikes. But if I'm hearing you correctly, you were concerned, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but would you say it was a broken campaign promise to drop those bombs in the first place?
No, what I had said, and you're only taking one tiny line out of many of my posts, I had said over and over again that we don't want to be involved in foreign wars. We do not want to be involved in regime change. We don't want troops on the ground. And I explained it in detail of why we want to focus on our issues here, which is what we're doing in Washington, trying to pass the president's agenda in the reconciliation bill. And this is why we're so happy that there were 0 crossings across the border in May, which is absolutely amazing, the most secure border in history. So I'm absolutely thrilled with President Trump and his administration. I think they're doing an incredible job. And now I'm even more proud of President Trump because of the ceasefire that he did broker and the peace deals that he is literally working on right now from the White House, not only between Israel and Iran, other countries in the Middle East joining the Abraham Accords, but also his continued push between Russia and Ukraine to end that war as well.
Let's talk about the efficacy of these airstrikes in Iran. It was a topic of conversation just this morning at the Pentagon with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. The New York Times and some other outlets have cited preliminary classified reporting earlier this week. They said that this strike on Iran's nuclear facilities only set back Iran's nuclear program by a few months. President Trump has said something very different. He said earlier this week that the strikes completely and fully obliterated these sites. What's your understanding of the efficacy of these strikes?
Well, let's be very clear. Let's compare the information that President Trump has to the New York Times, and we would say that's a pretty vast difference. President Trump, Secretary Hegseth, the entire administration has said that these strikes were successful. And we're very proud of the men and women that carried out these strikes. We have the most impressive military in the world, and we're very proud of them. And if the President and Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, says that these strikes were successful, I would believe them over the New York Times. The New York Times has lied about the President many times, and the American people don't trust the fake news anymore.
I want to close the loop here, Congresswoman. You've mentioned many times, just in the course of a conversation here and in many places elsewhere, you are opposed to foreign intervention, foreign military intervention. At what point would you change your stance? And I guess a better way to frame this would be, what kind of situation would lead you to support foreign military intervention?
Well, that would involve an attack on our homeland. And I've been very open and honest about this. You know, the most dangerous threat to Americans are the people in our home state are threatened, and people all across America are threatened every single day by illegal drug trafficking across our border, illegal human trafficking across our border, terrorists that come across our border, and all types of criminals that come across our border, and they're smuggled across by the cartels. And the cartels are the real threat to the United States and to the American people. We can talk about Laken Riley over and over again because our hearts are still so broken for her family. And her murder was absolutely the most unavoidable tragedy that I have witnessed probably in my entire lifetime. And so, you know, it's when there's real threats to Americans here at home, I think that is a situation to consider, of course, defending our country, because after all, the Department of Defense, that is their mission, is to defend our homeland. And I think that is a quality mission. But as far as getting ourselves involved in foreign countries' conflicts that have been these countries have been fighting each other longer than we've been a nation ourselves, and getting ourselves involved, sending our taxpayer dollars when we're $37 trillion in debt, and we can't afford to fix our own problems here at home, and the American people really want our problems fixed. You know, that's the clear difference, I think, and I think most people really understand that. It's just common sense.
You bring up the issue of the United States border and border security. I just want to put the question really plainly to you. Are you saying that you would support the use of American military to attack cartels in Central and South America?
Well, the cartels are a criminal terrorist organization, an international organization that is responsible for killing Americans every single day with drugs that they traffic, fentanyl that comes from China. I think that's a true threat to the American people. And more importantly, let's talk about the fatigue in America on foreign wars. And I'll just go back to what President Trump is doing, literally working so hard right now. He's on phone call after phone call and involved in meeting after meeting on ending wars. And that's exactly what everyone wants to see. No one wants war. I don't want to see any war. I want to see Americans to be happy and successful and not have to deal with drama on the news in their lives every single day, or debates and arguments filling up their social media feeds. I think Americans deserve to have representatives like me and Democrats that are elected across the country to fix the problems. But Congress usually spends way too much time digging a deep hole and putting the American people in a debt we can never get out of. So I think those things are important, as well as my kids' future, their generation. Gen Z deserves a future where they have hope, not a future where they feel like it's hopeless.
And I want to end here. I just want to be really clear to make sure we get a clear answer on this, because I don't think I heard one. Would you support the use of the American military to attack cartels in Central and South America?
I think I've been very clear. I'm not sure what you don't understand.
Well, I asked you the question, and you said they're a threat, but you didn't say yes or no. Would you support that or not?
If there is a foreign organization that's killing Americans and invading our country, I think that's a better use of our military. Yes, absolutely. I think it's a better use of our military, protecting Americans on the homeland, protecting American lives, and I think that's something that most Americans agree with.
Congresswoman, we appreciate your time as always. Thank you very much.
Yep. Have a great day.
You too.